So yeah, she doesn't even deny that as a sitting member of Congress, she was advising and instructing illegal immigrants on how to avoid deportation. This is really the massive news of the day. Just yesterday, Congressman Brandon Gill promoted a petition to arrest and deport Ilhan Omar back to Somalia. That's right. What that means is that the ball is finally in motion. Things are finally happening. Ilhan Omar is about to get deported back to Somalia. And no, I'm not joking. You see, about a week ago, Ilhan Omar got caught hosting online workshops in which she was instructing Somalian illegal immigrants inside of America on how to avoid getting deported by ICE. And once again, no, I'm not joking. In fact, I wish I was. But you know what? Take a look at her defense as to why she was doing this.
Elon Musk, I want to see if you want to respond to him. He is actually singling you out on X. He retweeted a post that alleged you were telling Somalians who are illegally in the country how to avoid deportation.
I said, hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right.
You do speak Somali in the clip, and the translation, according to the translation, it shows you telling people that if ICE attempts to question them, they are not obliged to answer those questions. I do not speak Somali, and I'm basing this on the translation that he retweeted here. And this is guidance that we have heard from many immigration advocates. But Musk says that you are, quote, breaking the law literally outright. Do you want to respond to that?
Well, it just shows you how much he lacks an understanding of what the laws of this country are.
Lie detector determined that was a lie.
Putting out a webinar, doing a webinar to help illegals avoid, I guess, apprehension, giving tips about how to continue to remain in the country and ultimately game the system.
And I sent an email today to the Deputy Attorney General. At what level is that impediment? Is that impediment? I'm not an attorney. I'm not a prosecutor. Is that impediment? Is that impeding our law enforcement efforts? If so, what are we going to do about it? Is she crossing the line? So I'm working with the Department of Justice and finding out where is that line that they cross. So maybe AOC is going to be in trouble now, but I need the AOG to opine on that, because there's impediment is impediment, in my opinion.
In the clip, it was an interview that I gave to a reporter. I'm not in that room, actually, that they pan out to. That is an edited video. And in the interview, I was asked, well, what I say to Somalis who are undocumented or who their documentations might have lapsed. And it is important for people to exercise their Fifth Amendment right to remain silent unless they feel confident.
So yeah, she doesn't even deny that as a sitting member of Congress, she was advising and instructing illegal immigrants on how to avoid deportation. In fact, it really makes you question just where her loyalty really is, the United States of America or Somalia. Well, you know what? Now that I think about it, you guys should take a look at this clip.
In caawa aan fursad u helay madaxweynaheena madaxweynaha Soomaaliya madaxweyne Xasan Sheikh Maxamuud inaan maanta ku soo dhaweyno Minneapolis.
Our president, Hassan Sheikh Mohamud? Hey, Congresswoman Omar, exactly which country are you representing here? Because, folks, it sure seems to me like Congresswoman Ilhan Omar is a little bit more on the Somalia first side of things. But also, take a look at this. Somalian President Hassan Mohamud, that Ilhan Omar seems to love so much, isn't exactly the greatest guy. You see, about a decade ago, an international corruption court found him guilty of stealing tens of millions of dollars of relief money being sent from the U.S. to Somalia.
Stop it. Get some help.
He's also been found guilty of funding and arming the radical jihadist terrorist group Al-Shabaab, and he also has a penchant for silencing any Somalian media that doesn't support his regime. So pretty much he's a corrupt, terrorist-supporting authoritarian. I think that's fair to say. But regardless, Ilhan Omar loves him anyway. He's our great president. But hey, you know what? Now that I think about it, it's a little bit weird to consider that Congresswoman Ilhan Omar has a little bit of a soft spot for authoritarian leaders, considering she said this just the other day.
We are witnessing a constitutional crisis.
Flashback.
As President Trump overhauls the government at a breakneck pace, the media has been breathlessly predicting a constitutional crisis.
By definition, are we in a constitutional crisis?
Dangerously close to a constitutional crisis.
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 I think this is the most serious constitutional crisis the country has faced, certainly since Watergate.
Well, the talking points appear to have gone out. Look at this. Look at these highlights. The term is all over the headlines.
Bullshit. Bullshit. Bullshit.
And then listen to this. I could not believe it. CNN guests were wildly teasing jail scenarios for Trump allies.
So far, they've been talking tough, but I think largely have complied with these court orders.
Then what's next if they do defy a court order?
First thing you would do would be to go back to the court and hold the administration or the individuals who are not complying in contempt. And there are a series of remedies that the court can order if someone is in contempt, including jailing them.
Brainwash.
Except wait for it. Trump says he will abide by exactly what the courts tell him to do.
I always abide by the courts, and then I'll have to appeal it. But then what he's done is he slowed down the momentum. And it gives crooked people more time to cover up the books.
Flashback.
When one of these things comes to your backyard, you can resist. And what that happens over millions of people is that you generate enough friction that they cannot go as fast as they want to go. Make sure that you are slowing down this system.
AOC's office advising migrants on how to avoid deportation.
I always abide by the courts, and then I'll have to appeal it. But then what he's done is he slowed down the momentum. And it gives crooked people more time to cover up the books. You know, if a person's crooked and they get caught, other people see that, and all of a sudden it becomes harder later on. So, yeah, the answer is I always abide by the courts, always abide by them, and will appeal. But appeals take a long time.
Folks, this is what's so hilarious right now. With Trump back in office, everything is moving so fast that all of these left-wing talking heads can't even keep their stories straight.
Meanwhile,
We talked about Trump wanting to be a dictator on day one, and here we are. This is what the beginning of dictatorship looks like. When you gut the Constitution and you install yourself as the sole power, that is how dictators are made.
So just to make sure I understand all of this, Trump is bad because he's a literal dictator, but the Somalian president who's executing members of the media, funding terrorist groups, and stealing humanitarian aid money, he's a great guy. This all seems just a little bit hypocritical. But okay, folks, what do you say we go ahead and move on to the main point of the video? Ilhan Omar is finally getting deported. But first, before we do, I want to say real quick that if you guys enjoy the content, please consider subscribing to the channel. It really does help a ton with my daily struggle against the YouTube algorithm. But okay, here's where today's story gets a little bit crazy. You see, in response to Ilhan Omar aiding and abetting illegal immigrants, Republican Congressman Brandon Gill posted, "We should have never let Ilhan Omar into our country, and America would be a better place if Ilhan Omar were deported back to Somalia." And you know what, guys? Do you even disagree with him? Why don't you go down to the comments section and let me know. But okay, then Congressman Brandon Gill's headed on over to CNN to give some further input.
I just want to follow up with this post that you had on X. You said that Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, a U.S. citizen, should be deported to her home country of Somalia. Omar became a naturalized citizen at 17. Why did you do that?
Well, listen, my colleague Ilhan Omar, she is an American citizen. She is a member of the House of Representatives. I didn't call for her to be deported, but I did say that America would be better off were she deported. I think that there is a serious problem, particularly given after the past 4 years of open borders, of Democrats facilitating the invasion of our country by illegal aliens. My colleague Ilhan Omar was advising illegal alien Somalis on how to evade ICE detection. That is as un-American as you can possibly get. It's unbecoming of a congressperson.
What
and
evidence?
I absolutely
Where are
think
you
that
getting
it is
that from
disgusting.
specifically? Where are you getting that from specifically?
We have the audio of her doing that.
But do
It
you
was
think
in an
that
interview.
she is a duly elected member of Congress?
She has a
Her
duty
constituents
to uphold
put
the
her in
values
office.
and customs of America,
you're
not to represent foreign illegal aliens who shouldn't be here to begin
Okay.
with. And I think that raises serious
She is
questions.
helping people understand what the laws are. But listen,
that raises serious. To whom is she most loyal? Illegal aliens, Somalis, or American citizens?
She's representing
I think
her
that's a very
constituents
legitimate question.
as a member of Congress.
Did you guys hear that CNN host? She's representing her constituents. Are her constituents a bunch of illegal immigrant Somalians? Because I thought that illegal immigrants haven't been voting in our elections. Or did CNN maybe lie about that?
Congressman Brandon Gill, I really appreciate your time. I appreciate this conversation. I think it's really important.
So do I.
Just yesterday, Congressman Brandon Gill promoted a petition to arrest and deport Ilhan Omar back to Somalia. That's right. What that means is that the ball is finally in motion. Things are finally happening.
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Clause 2A.1 of Rule 9, I seek recognition to give notice of my intent to raise a question of the privileges of the House. The form of the resolution is as follows.
Recognized.
Censuring Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota. Whereas elected members of Congress take an oath to bear true faith and allegiance to the United States without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. Whereas Representative Ilhan Omar took an oath of allegiance to the United States upon becoming a citizen, declaring, I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state, or sovereignty, of whom or which I have heretofore been a subject or citizen. Whereas on January 27, 2024, Representative Omar gave remarks at an event in Minneapolis in which she made treasonous statements. Whereas Representative Omar said she has spoken to many Somalians who asked her to intercede for the Somali government by pressuring the United States government into certain actions. Whereas Representative Omar assured the Somalians she spoke to, the U.S. government will only do what Somalians in the U.S. tell them to do. They will do what we want and nothing else. They must follow our orders, and that is how we will safeguard the interest of Somalia. Whereas Representative Omar continued, for as long as I am in U.S. Congress, Somalia will never be in danger. Its waters will not be stolen by Ethiopia or others. Sleep in comfort knowing I am here to protect the interest of Somalia from inside the U.S. system. Whereas George Washington warned in his farewell address of 1796 to guard against the impostures of pretended patriotism, and further declared citizens by birth or choice of a common country, that country has a right to concentrate your affections. The name of American, which belongs to you in your national capacity, must always exalt the just pride of patriotism more than any appellation derived from local discriminations. Whereas these statements by Representative Omar clearly violate the oath she took as an elected member of Congress to defend and protect the United States Constitution. Whereas Representative Omar has exhibited the treasonous tendencies George Washington warned about, and her actions must be condemned by all members of Congress who adhere to the oath they took upon assuming office. And whereas by openly admitting her efforts to advance Somalia's interest using her position as a United States representative, Representative Omar has revealed herself to be a foreign agent acting on behalf of a foreign government. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota be censured. Representative Ilhan Omar forthwith present herself in the well of the House of Representatives for the pronouncement of censure. Representative Ilhan Omar be censured with the public reading of this resolution by the Speaker, and Representative Ilhan Omar be and is hereby removed from the Committee of the Budget and the Committee on Education and the Workforce.